Coming in at number 10, Steve Harvey.
I have to apologize. The first runner-up is Colombia. Miss Universe 2015 is Philippines.
Back in 2015, many watched in awe as Steve Harvey made one of the greatest blunders in television history. Steve incorrectly announced that the winner of the Miss Universe contest was Colombia. As the celebration was happening and right as she was getting crowned though, you just see poor Steve Harvey tuck his tail between his legs and march back out to correct his mistake. It was definitely hard to watch, but man, you gotta commend Steve for owning up to his mistakes like that. Realizing that Miss Philippines was the actual winner, he came back out and corrected it without even blaming anyone for his mistake. Although he might have said something about the teleprompter being wrong. But before we hit our next point though, we need you guys to hit that like button because it really helps us out. And with that out of the way, let's keep going. Coming in at number 9, Pamela Anderson. I don't know if she was wasted or what, but right from the very beginning of this interview in 2006 with comedian John Rove McManus, it was a disaster. Upon her introduction, she came running out with more energy than that time that Tom Cruise jumped on Oprah's couch, which we might get to later. Pamela greeted the crowd with a hair flip and then proceeded to toss a handful of green candy into the crowd. Candy that she had plucked from a bowl on the table at the interview.
By the sounds of things.
Although the real nail in her coffin was the drama that led up to this bizarre interview with the former Baywatch star. According to John, the show runs live and Pamela was late, so he actually had to start the show before she was even in the building. When she finally did show up, she really seemed like she was doing everything to hurry up the process and get out of there. Multiple times he genuinely asked her if she was okay, but that only made things more awkward. Coming in at number 8, Mariah Carey. Look, Mariah Carey can definitely sing. There's no question about that. However, this does not make her immune from copping out time to time and lip syncing, you know, just for fun. Right off the top, during her 2017 New Year's Eve performance, you can tell that she's lip singing, but when the music transitions and she comes down to the main stage, the sound tech accidentally plays the wrong song. Whoops. I don't know if this was just an error or if someone was really trying to expose Mariah like that, but damn. My favorite part comes later on after she tells the crowd that they picked the wrong song, and as she's talking, like mid-sentence, you can hear her trademark whistle note in the background. It's just perfect live TV. I know Mariah Carey still obviously has a career, but I had to include it because apparently she got paid close to $3.5 million to lip sync her New Year's Eve performance. I guess you could say more than one ball was dropped that night. Coming in at number 9, Vanilla Ice. Way back in 1999, before Jon Stewart was the host of The Daily Show, he was hosting a program on the set of MTV called MTV's Lame 25. On the show, the host would typically make fun of different music videos that had already aired on MTV, and then they would destroy the tape. On one episode in particular, rapper Vanilla Ice came in at number 9 with his song Ice Ice Baby. The rapper was in the studio at the time of the criticisms and he was planned to take to the set with a baseball bat and break the tape for his own song as per MTV's request. However, things didn't go exactly as planned. The jokes and comments must have really started to bug Vanilla Ice because he didn't just break the tape. Vanilla Ice took that baseball bat to the entire set, smashing everything and scaring everyone in the process. Luckily, he was able to bounce back from this by reinventing himself as a DIY superstar on different home improvement networks, but I don't know if that's much better. I mean, how ironic though would it be for MTV to call up Vanilla Ice and have him rebuild their set that he destroyed? I think that'd be pretty great. We should do that. We should organize that. Who has to start a GoFundMe? Because Vanilla Ice is gonna need to get paid to do that. You're like, don't you need a change.org? No, GoFundMe to get him to do this. Coming in at number 6, Jesse Eisenberg.
Do you know the comedian Carrot Top?
Yes, horrible.
Well, you were like the Carrot Top of interviewers.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. No, and it's a good thing. It's
I'm
a good
gonna
thing.
go cry now.
No, don't cry now.
While promoting the film Now You See Me, Jesse Eisenberg just could not contain his utter disdain for this interview. Right out of the gate, he was on the defensive. The interviewer refers to Morgan Freeman simply as Freeman, for which Jesse then takes offense to for some reason. He then remarks that she's the Carrot Top of interviewing, which just insults the interviewer so bad that she hurries Jesse to complete a magic trick so that they can just wrap it all up. The entire interview is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever witnessed, and we're only at number 6 on this list. Trust me though, if you haven't watched this full interview, you must. It is just such a terrible exchange back and forth between an actor and an interviewer, a true masterclass on what not to do. From both sides, really. Coming in at number 5, Tom Cruise. It was the couch jump that truly rocked Hollywood and a side of the action hero Tom Cruise that we had never witnessed before. In short, it was a meltdown over passion for his newest love interest, Katie Holmes. At the time, Tom Cruise was one of the biggest celebrities in America, and he was already an established leading man with roles such as Top Gun and Jerry Maguire under his belt. He was appearing on the Oprah Winfrey Show to promote his upcoming movie, which was Steven Spielberg's remake of War of the Worlds. However, instead of staying on script for his promo material, he could not stop gushing over his new girlfriend. Within 15 minutes of the interview, Tom had leapt onto Oprah's couch as Oprah struggled to find the words for his over-the-top infatuation. In the moment, it was this very heartwarming thing to see, but in hindsight, people watching that clip only see Tom acting out of school for an interview. So by all accounts, and without hearing the audience's reaction, this was categorized as one of Tom's biggest TV meltdowns. Coming in at number 4, Ashley Simpson. That video of Ashley Simpson on Saturday Night Live just messing up her performance still gives me secondhand embarrassment. In the video, you can see all of this confusion when she realizes that the track started playing before she even had the microphone up to her face. So she just starts like awkwardly dancing instead. Hey, maybe that's where the Fortnite Take the L dance came from. At that point, you can't even really salvage the performance. I mean, it's called Saturday Night Live for a reason. So she did her little dance, said that she was sorry, blamed it on her band for some reason for playing the wrong song, and then it was all quick cut to commercial from there. During an interview several years later, she was asked about this incident, and here's what Ashley had to say.
What happened there was I had a vocal problem. I had two nodes beating against each other, and I woke up and I had no voice. And then I should have said, no, I will not go on. I will not do this. And
coming in at number 3, Sinead O'Connor. In 1992, Sinead O'Connor was invited to be the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. Had she just stuck to her usual routine, this performance could have ended much differently. However, instead of doing that, she decided to go down a very weird downward spiral that was all captured on live television. Nearing the end of her performance, O'Connor pulls out a photo of Pope John Paul II and slowly begins to rip the picture in half. She did this while saying, "Fight the real enemy." Shortly thereafter, she was banned from ever appearing on the show again, probably because when they were doing rehearsals, this little number was not included. You can't surprise people like that, especially Lorne Michaels. That's it, you're out of here, kid. That's my Lorne Michaels impression. Coming in at number 2, Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen is the polar opposite of what you should do when pursuing a career in Hollywood. He carries with him a terrible offset and onset reputation, and the debacle that he went through in 2011 even led to his contract termination from the show 2.5 Men. For a while, he was all over the news for everything from substance abuse, domestic violence, and even when he revealed that he was HIV positive. With his history of flying off at the drop of a hat and trying to get people fired who speak ill of him, Sheen had a very difficult time trying to rebuild his career. Although it's hard to put a pin on one interview in particular that really ended Sheen's career, there are certainly a bevy of bizarre ones to choose from. Perhaps the worst was when he was on the Today Show for a very candid conversation.
People that aren't special, people that don't have tiger blood and, Adonis DNA.
Strong people have relapsed. Strong people have started using again. How do you avoid that?
Fools.
Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Billy Bob Thornton. As great as a career that old Billy Bob has had as an actor, he is also in a band called the Boxmasters. Although oddly enough, whenever he does interviews now, he insists that they only talk about the band and never even bring up his acting career. I mean, how could you do that? It's really weird considering how prolific this guy was as an actor. You'd think if the interviewer was a fan of his, it would be really disappointing to get this demand before starting your conversation with him. Hey, you know that thing you really love about me? Yeah, don't talk about that. Not at all. I don't want to hear your questions. The biggest blow up that was viewed as one of his most awkward interviews was when he and his band were on a show called Q for CBC in Canada. The interviewer tried his best to talk to Billy, but he always answered in a confusing way, which left the band feeling even more awkward to answer the questions for him. I mean, take a look.
I wasn't instructed to. I'm not really instructed. You guys are here as a band. You're performing, but
the producer was instructed.
Right,
so, but somewhere along the way.
I actually can't believe that he just told the interviewer how he was instructed not to call his music career a hobby. No wonder this guy has had like 5 different marriages. God, get it together, Billy Bob Thornton.
In at number 10, Chrissy Teigen. Pete Davidson took a major dig at Chrissy Teigen on the most recent episode of Saturday Night Live, and I believe he is one of the biggest celebrities that have condemned her following her most recent scandal. During the Weekend Update segment of the show, Davidson said, quote, "If there's one good thing about the pandemic besides getting Chrissy Teigen out of our lives," then the crowd erupted with laughter before he was able to finish the joke. During the audience cheers, he added, quote, "I'm relieved." He then went on to continue to make a joke about about masks. So clearly Pete and the entire SNL cast wanted to make a point to condemn Chrissy on their final episode of the season, and I'm really glad that he did. And at number 9, Wendy Williams. This one is absolutely outrageous, but I just had to share it. In March of 2021, Wendy Williams shocked the live viewers of her show when she burped and farted at the same time. During the Hot Topics segment where Wendy was talking about the Kardashians, Wendy let out a burp and then covered her mouth, but a brief toot happened as well. And the show's mics picked up the whole thing for the world to hear. She owned up to the embarrassing moment immediately, saying, I apologize, before going straight back into the gossip. But what makes this even funnier is that Wendy is now known to be a tooter, and she was involved in Fartgate last year on her show. However, that time, even though we all heard the toot, she didn't own up to it, and said about the toot at that time, quote, I barely fart. You know why? Because gas gets released several different ways, and mine is belching, because all I do is talk. I guess we all know the truth now, Wendy. And at number 8, Jenny Slate. Jenny Slate was fired from SNL after she made a career-ending error during the live TV broadcast. There are a lot of rules when doing live TV, but one of the most important is to never swear. During her very first appearance on the show in 2009, she was doing a segment where she said a play on the F word by saying frickin' over and over. But one of those times she said the real word and dropped the F-bomb. She quickly caught herself saying it, but it was too late, and immediately after the show she knew what a huge mistake that she'd made. She even got a lot of hate online from viewers after the slip. She ended up getting fired from the show at the end of her first season, although she says she wasn't fired because of the F-bomb incident, but rather because it wasn't a good fit. Getting fired was a huge blow to her reputation and career, but she has found success since. In at number 7, Janet Jackson. There is no way I couldn't include this one in the list because Jackson's career was truly never the same after this accident. During the 2004 Super Bowl, Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake performed at what would become the most memorable halftime show of all time. While the two were dancing and singing, Timberlake suddenly grabbed and ripped her shirt, exposing her breast to the entire world. Following the incident, the media dubbed it Nipplegate. Janet Jackson was put through the ringer for her part in the whole scandal, and as a result, she was uninvited to the Grammy Awards that year, and her songs were blacklisted from the radio. It was later discovered that the whole incident happened because they added a costume reveal into their performance at the last minute, but for some reason it failed. The crazy part was that even though Timberlake was the reason the whole thing actually happened, his career only got better after the incident, while Janet's basically disappeared. And at number 6, Lil Nas X. Lil Nas X did what he does best during his SNL performance and made our jaws drop. Lil Nas X performed his song Montero, Call Me By Your Name, and Sun Goes Down for the season 46 finale. And his raunchy performance turned a lot of heads by itself, but it got even better after Lil Nas ripped his pants on live TV during the performance. While he was dancing on a stripper pole, he bent down and ripped his pants. And we pretty much all knew that it happened because he had a brief look of shock and horror on his face while trying to figure out what to do next. He also spent the rest of the entire performance covering the rip on his crotch with his hand. After fans started speculating about the rip on Twitter, Nas tweeted out, quote, not my pants ripped on live TV. Then sometime later that night he tweeted again, quote, I know I do a lot of planned but ripping my pants on live TV is not one of them. Thankfully, it wasn't that bad of a rip and the people watching at home didn't see too much. Halfway at number 5, Milli Vanilli. Milli Vanilli was a massive pop duo in the 90s that had insane success. However, one live TV performance exposed that the whole thing was fake. Basically, while the duo Fab Morvan and Rob Plattis were performing, their backtrack that they were lip syncing to skipped, proving that they weren't singing. After the performance, the whole scandal blew up, and it was discovered that the men in the group never even sang one word of the original song. Milli Vanilli was created by German record producer Frank Farian, and he took the voices of some unnamed singers and made the duo the faces of the group. Everything was going great with the hosts until it all came crashing down. And of course, after the lie was exposed, the group was blacklisted from the industry. This took a huge toll on Morvan and Plattis, and especially on their mental health, driving Plattis to take his own life. And number 4, Martin Lawrence. This is another incident that took place on SNL. While Martin Lawrence was hosting, his monologue got so raunchy at one point that it ended up being cut from the broadcast. If you're wondering what kind of stuff is so bad that it won't get aired on television, well, his monologue was talking about genital hygiene of the female intimate areas. And the whole thing was pretty crass and explicit. When the episode aired later that night for West Coast viewers, NBC cut that portion of the monologue and replaced it with text explaining the gist of Lawrence's commentary and how, quote, quote, network policy prevents any rebroadcast of that routine. The rest of the schedule went on as usual, but Lawrence was obviously banned from the show after, and probably not allowed back on any live TV either. In at number 3, Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj had everyone on the edge when she took the time during her 2015 VMA acceptance speech to call out host Miley Cyrus. The call out was because Miley made some negative comments about her to the press. While accepting the award for Best Hip Hop Video, Nicki Minaj finished it off saying, quote, and now back to this bee that had a lot to say about me in the press the other day. Miley, what's good? Miley handled it very well and quickly congratulated Nicki on the win and said the media twisted her words. Miley's original comments took place during an interview where she was talking about Taylor Swift and Nicki spat over award nominations, where Miley said, quote, what I read sounded very Nicki Minaj, which, if you know Nicki Minaj, is not too kind. It's not very polite. I think there's a way you speak to people with openness and love. You don't have to start this pop star against pop star war. So I'm not sure how that could have been taken out of context, but I think Miley's allowed to have her opinion here. In at number 2, Nancy O'Dell. Entertainment reporter Nancy O'Dell got herself in some hot water after she made some shady comments to Taylor Swift. The host was talking to Taylor on the Grammys red carpet in 2015 and asked, quote, you're gonna walk away with more than a trophy tonight. I think lots of men, Nancy said to Taylor. After the question, Taylor looked stunned and offended, and she fired back that it was not the case. Swift responded, quote, I'm not gonna walk home with any men tonight. I'm gonna hang out with my friends and then go home to my cats, with her adding later that men get her into trouble. These comments were probably meant to be a lighthearted joke about Taylor's publicized relationships, but obviously the Grammys was not the time or place. And finally at number 1, James Franco. James Franco's acting career has taken a hit for many reasons, but his hosting career was over just as fast as it started after he hosted the Oscars with Anne Hathaway. If you don't already know about this legendary night, James Franco and Anne Hathaway hosted the 2011 awards. But it was universally regarded as a train wreck. The main reason for the train wreck was James Franco, because he looked half asleep basically the whole time, and like he didn't want to be there, which forced Anne Hathaway to overcompensate with her delivery. And I think it's safe to say that Franco is the one that made it very hard to watch, while Anne was just trying to keep things afloat. Hathaway admitted she initially tried to turn down the gig, but eventually came around, adding, quote, your first instinct is usually the right one. Also, apparently the whole thing was Franco's idea, which just makes everything so much worse.
Coming in number 10, Piers Morgan. If you recall, when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle appeared on Oprah, Piers Morgan had a lot to say about the interview the following day. While on Good Morning Britain, the host sounded off about Meghan lying during the interview, even at one point referring to her as the Pinocchio princess in a tweet later that day. Following his comments, the station received over 41,000 complaints. His live TV moment that sort of ruined his career, though, was when he clashed on air with weather presenter Alex Beresford. Alex criticized Piers for continuing to trash Meghan, which prompted Piers to just get up while he was speaking and walk right off the set. He would return within 10 minutes, but the damage was already done. In a statement, the studio spokesperson said, following discussions with ITV, Piers Morgan has decided now is the time to leave Good Morning Britain. ITV has accepted this decision and has nothing further to add. Coming in number 9, Jim Carrey. At the New York Fashion Week in 2017, Jim Carrey made a rare appearance, and while walking down the red carpet, he did his best to avoid an interview with E! News. At first, he really tried to twirl around a few times and not really stand still, hoping that would work, but she was persistent. Carrey then even says that he wanted to find the most meaningless event that he could go to, and that's how he ended up there. The interviewer, trying to keep the integrity of the event high, claims that it's a celebration of icons, for which Jim says, icons don't exist, I don't believe in personalities, I don't believe you exist. But there is a wonderful fragrance in the air. Before departing from this awkward interview, though, he leaves her with a nugget of truth.
Here's the thing, it's not our world.
None of this is real?
Nope.
So you're just passing
We don't
through.
matter. We don't matter.
Oh, wow.
There's the good news.
Okay.
Coming in number 8, Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld is one of the most successful comedians of all time, no doubt. His show Seinfeld was on television for 9 years, and Jerry's decision to go out on top proved to be one of the most lucrative deals for the comedian ever. Since the final episode, the show has generated over $3 billion in repeat fees. But for whatever reason, Larry King thought that they canceled the show. Even though Larry King worked for CNN, he wasn't known for his hard-hitting questions. Yet for whatever reason, he decided to use an interview promoting Jerry's B-movie to ask him if Seinfeld was canceled.
I'm asking you.
You think I got canceled? Are you under the impression that I got canceled?
I've hurt you, Jerry.
I thought that was pretty well documented.
Don't
This is
most shows
is this still
go
CNN?
Don't.
I was the #1 show on television, Larry.
You were.
Do you know who I am?
And you can see right away in Seinfeld's body language how frustrated he gets when Larry even tries to insinuate this. Jerry does not back down though and immediately goes on the attack, telling King that he was the #1 show on television before adding the very crass line of, "Do you know who I am?" That's my best Jerry Seinfeld. Coming at number 7, Dakota Johnson. This without a doubt has to be the cringe heard around the world. We got to watch the live falling out between Dakota Johnson and her mother Melanie Griffith on the red carpet of the Oscars. Just because the cameras are rolling, they fake laugh their way through this entirely awkward interview. The whole thing started off on a really bad note too. The interviewer praises Melanie while repeatedly calling Dakota her little girl, which just downplays how successful that she's been on her own. Then when her mother is asked if she has watched 50 Shades of Grey, her mom outright says that she wouldn't watch the movie, which clearly hurts her daughter.
Feels like everybody has seen it. Have you?
No. No. Not maybe.
Do you have
Maybe
say?
one day.
You don't want to see it?
Maybe one day. I don't think I can.
Regardless of the content of the film and the positive reviews, a kid is always looking for that recognition from their parents. Nonetheless, this is one embarrassing live TV moment. Coming in number 6, Kourtney Kardashian.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry about that. So I just was wondering how everyone's doing. Hello, Kourtney. Have we lost you?
After her sister Kim was robbed in Paris, Today Extra, an Australian news outlet, was interviewing Kourtney via satellite from Los Angeles. They asked her how Kim was doing following this traumatic event, but suddenly Kourtney's face freezes. You then can sort of hear what sounds like her publicist saying, "Do not answer that question."
We were very empathetic about what happened and very sort of horrified. And so we were wondering, how is everyone going and how's Kim doing?
What? Okay.
The interviewer then goes on a bit of a rant saying that she could simply say that her sister is doing fine, as they too speculate that she was told to be quiet. However, she then does answer the question on her own, saying that she's not doing great, and I think that they're all still shaken up by it. Her response to what appeared to be her blanking was that the audio on the other end wasn't coming through. Sure. Coming in number 5, Ninja.
Let's get it, come on baby, show me what you got, show me just move. If you got no, just move. So I want to see some movement. I'm not seeing enough movement. Oh my god.
This video will still be one of the funniest things in the world to me. I don't know what brilliant executive thought this would be a good idea, but man, did they ever misread this opportunity. First of all, you're trying to get a bunch of New Yorkers who have been standing out in the rain for hours to dance. That was their first mistake. Secondly, they have a man famous for playing video games, most of which in that crowd I'm sure they have never even heard of Fortnite, doing a dance that is perhaps the most cringe-worthy dance since the Macarena. The end result is Ninja soaking wet on live television, dancing alone while yelling, "I'm not seeing any movement." Yeah, no, very cringe. Coming in number 4, Logan Paul.
But Facebook is actually inactive. Your Facebook account is inactive.
Why are you about to call me out live like that? What are you doing?
Influencers are often very comfortable in front of the camera, but few can actually nail a live interview aired on television. Logan Paul by far has some of the best live TV moments where his troll humor just doesn't translate. While on Fox Business, he was called out about his Facebook being inactive, for which he didn't really have an answer for. It was a small moment, but one that definitely threw him off his game for a little bit. He also oddly said on live TV that he had pink eye. Word of advice, you don't need to tell us you have pink eye. We can see it, and if we can see it, you probably shouldn't be out in the public.
Like I'm definitely going downhill from here.
Did that make you nervous?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm terrified. I think it's the beginning of the end.
Come on.
I also have pink eye, and so this whole thing is like, I don't even...
Okay, don't touch the set.
Coming in number 3, Casey Neistat.
No.
Yeah,
we were
just
trying to do a serious thing here, and this is not funny. That's ketchup. Do not be upset. There are children watching. That was not funny. That's totally uncool.
Teaming up with Fox News, Casey and his brother were attempting to show them how easy it was for thieves to steal bikes in New York City. Casey, thinking it would be fun to prank the on-the-street host, ended up really making a fool out of himself. When his brother started using the saw to break the chain around the bike used in this example, Casey shot ketchup onto the ground and dropped as if his neck had just been sliced. When no one was laughing and the woman interviewing them began freaking out, he quickly had to stand up, dust himself off, and apologize. And again, it was very embarrassing. Coming in number 2, Cara Delevingne. Let's just say her dry British humor was not really received well by these happy-go-lucky morning news hosts at CBS Sacramento. At the start of the interview, she was asked some very dumb questions, admittedly. For example, the film Paper Town was based on a book, so they asked her if she had read the book, and then immediately after making a snide comment about her probably not having enough time to read, Cara obviously takes offense to this, judging by her body language, but instead decides to flip it into a joke, saying that she didn't even bother reading the script, just winged it. And the interviewers actually take this as factual for a moment before her laughing cuts the tension. But that's not even the most awkward part of this interview though.
Yeah, I think it's just you.
I think it probably is us. Well, then on that note,
We figured as much. We figured as much.
we'll let you go then. How about that? We'll let you go take a little nap, maybe get a Red Bull. How about that?
After one interviewer asked her why she isn't as excited as her other interviews, she remarks that it's very early and that she thought it was going well. So again, jokingly, she says, "It must be you," which certainly did not go over well with the studio executives, nor the people interviewing her. Last but certainly not least, coming in at our #1 spot, Ryan Seacrest.
Goes, I am pumped.
As you should be. Well, I'm giving you a high five. Congratulations, there it is. And we will see you in Hollywood, California.
This video of Ryan Seacrest trying to high-five a blind man is peak cringe. My body feels like it turns inside out every time I watch it. On January 13th, 2009, during an episode of American Idol, a blind man named Scott finds out that all 4 judges have decided to put him through to the next round. As Scott comes back into the holding room to share the good news with his family, Seacrest looks noticeably impatient while standing by the door. As his family gets excited, Ryan goes for a high five, and the moment his hand comes up, you can see his brain switch to panic mode once he realizes that Scott is about to leave him hanging on live television. So in a bizarre series of events, Ryan reaches down, grabs his hand to prompt a high five. It was a hilariously awkward and certainly one celebrity moment that a lot of people have forgotten about.